But, and that's all I'm going to say that you've all heard before, most of you. I'm going to start talking about new stuff now. I'm actually just going to do it with this one slide, because what I've decided to do, since you're all very interested in this area and many of you have thought about it, is I'd like to just raise some questions and raise a few issues around some of these questions, just for stimulus and thought for the rest of the day and beyond. And first of all, I want to point out that there are many other questions I could have put on this list. I just chose these ones because I think they, well, I think they span the range of things that we need to be thinking about in relation to the elimination of aging. Fact is that aging kills 100,000 people a day. 2/3 of all deaths are from aging. And in the industrialised world, it's much more than that, 90% of all deaths. That's a lot of deaths. And of course, most of those deaths are following a long period of ill health and suffering and decrepitude and debilitation and general misery. So, you know, we'd really like to fix that as soon as possible. And of course, one could argue, well, different people have different priorities, depending on, for example, how long they expect to live anyway. I find that really rather curious, personally. I think it's much easier to get worked up about saving 100,000 lives a day than it is about increasing fractionally the probability that one will make the cut, that one will make the cut oneself. But that's a different issue. So when I say how can we reach longevity escape velocity soon, of course there are many possible definitions of that question, depending on what we mean by we or what we mean by soon. But I think the important thing is to try to reach it as soon as possible for as many people as possible. So first of all, I'm going to list and discuss a few technical considerations that I think are very much live issues in this area. Let's talk about the brain first of all. The brain is a topic of interest to transhumanists in general, as of course you're aware, with regard to both understanding how it works and possibly transferring it to alternative hardware and so on. And I think that's a rather good thing, because the fact is I'm still pretty scared about the repair of the brain. I think that all of the aspects of brain aging that we know about can be described using the 7 major categories that I've been talking about for so long. But I'm acutely aware that there's an awful lot that we don't know about how the brain works. A lot more than what we don't know about how other organs work, really. And therefore, I do not want to exclude the possibility that we may be in for some nasty surprises when we figure out how to fix the things that we know about. How to get rid of the amyloid in Alzheimer's, for example, how to get rid of the internal, intracellular aggregates that also accumulate in all neurodegenerative diseases, how to replace neurons that have died. All of those things are within reach, I feel, but once we've done it, it may be that the brain declines in function on schedule because there are other things going wrong that we didn't know about. And I think, therefore, that one of the most urgent things for neuroscientists to be doing right now, in terms of the contribution they might be able to make to the hastening of the achievement of longevity escape velocity, is to discover more about the aging of the brain, to discover more about the details of what goes wrong, and in particular, to try to discover more about the causation involved. We need to try to figure out, as soon as we can, whether other aspects of brain dysfunction are simply downstream consequences of the things that we know about. And in particular, therefore, whether there may be other aspects of brain aging that are not simply downstream consequences and would not be automatically reversed and repaired as a consequence of fixing these things that come into my list. It's a big topic, and not a topic that I'm going to go any further with today. Another thing that often comes up in technical discussions about the feasibility of SENS is the need for really good, safe, effective gene therapy. There are a number of aspects of SENS that can be implemented without gene therapy, but there are a number of others, such as, for example, the relocation of that, in my view, are pretty impossible to do without that. And when I say somatic gene therapy ineffective, I mean the ability to get engineered DNA from the lab into most, not necessarily absolutely all, but at least most of our cells, of pretty much all cell types, and to do so in a manner that does not have, it's not doing more harm than good by causing problems of toxicity to the cell. Now, there is a lot of progress happening in somatic gene therapy, no question. We're pretty good at gene therapy for mice now, but even in mice, we're not good enough. There are some dramatic and very impressive examples of mouse pathologies that have been very effectively cured using gene therapy, but they have been somewhat cherry-picked. They have tended to be diseases that can be cured by the introduction of engineered DNA into only a very small proportion of cells in a given tissue. And a number of the things that we need to do for SENS that won't be enough. We will have to hit most cells. So I used to think, way back in the 10 years ago or whatever, when I started thinking about SENS, I used to think, well, gene therapy can be left to its own devices. There are lots of reasons why we need gene therapy, lots of people working on it. By the time that the researchers have figured out what engineered DNA we need to actually deliver and where we need to deliver it to, the technology to deliver it will be developed, and that'll be great. But I've become progressively more cautious in that interpretation. I do think that work in gene therapy, and in particular in gene targeting, which is the variant of gene therapy in which one is trying to modify the existing genome rather than simply insert new DNA, work is proceeding very nicely, there's no question about it. But we still don't really know how far we have to go. So when people ask me, when biologists, young biologists especially, tend to ask me what field should I go into, what aspect of aging research should I go into, I often point out to them that actually they should not only be thinking about aging research, they should be thinking about any type of biology or biotechnology that is relevant to the eventual implementation of SENS and the achievement of longevity escape velocity. And somatic gene therapy research is emphatically such an area. So if that's an area that interests anyone in the room, then please do not think about giving it up in favour of something that's more obviously directly relevant to SENS. Yep, 3 minutes ago. How about take 5? So, how hard is cancer to overcome? Well, the thing about cancer is, it is almost certainly the hardest aspect of aging to fix. We have to face the fact that cancer is the only aspect of aging that has natural selection on its side. And I think that the over-optimism that oncologists have had over the past decades that has led them to make, obviously, statements that didn't come true about how soon we would be able to get on top of cancer has come from simply forgetting that fact, from just not giving evolution the respect that it deserves. It's because of taking cancer seriously that I came up with the crazy idea called wilt, that some of you may have heard of, in which I basically proposed that we should eliminate the ability of all our cells to divide indefinitely the way cancers do, and we should just live with the side effects that that would cause on the stem cells of our rapidly renewing tissues, such as the blood and the skin and the gut, and simply repair those side effects, get rid of those side effects using alternative means, specifically using stem cell therapy. Now, that is a viciously ambitious approach. And even friends of mine, scientists who are generally positive about SENS and think that everything else I've proposed is fairly realistic, and there are quite a few of those people now, most of those people regard wilt as completely out to lunch. They just think it's never going to work. And you know what? They might just be right. It is awfully hard. I continue to promote it and propound it because I think that it's the only approach we have out there that is absolutely certain to cure cancer if we can implement it. But we really would like something a lot better. We'd like something that could actually be implemented much more simply. And so again, I think that anyone who's working in cancer should carry on working in cancer, because it's something we need to do. I'm definitely interested at the moment in a variety of different approaches to immunotherapy for cancer. I think there's a lot of progress being made there, and that may be the solution. But I'm not betting on it. I still have a bad feeling that we will need worse. All right, so in the last couple of minutes, I just want to talk about some societal considerations. As you know, society is not terribly convinced that ageing is quite as bad a thing as most people here probably think it is. The previous talk mentioned Jeff Bezos, who has put a very large amount of money into space exploration. Now, I think that's a bit of a shame, really, not least because I know Jeff reasonably well. I've talked to him a good deal about ageing. He's not in favour of it. He always asks about it when I meet him, and he's hardly given us any money at all. And I have absolutely no idea why. So if you can help me on that, that would be nice. And unfortunately, I only pick on Jeff Bezos because he was mentioned in the talk. He is by no means alone among the wealthy individuals of this world. We'd like to fix this. And I do not know. I'm always looking for new ideas of how to somehow change society's ambivalence about ageing. But ultimately, we've all just got to carry on thinking and acting and being advocates. A lot of people come to me and they're concerned about whether developing nations will actually get these therapies when we develop them, or whether it will just increase global inequality. And I don't have a good answer to that. I have a very good answer to the corresponding question within the developed world, in terms of the access to these therapies for less wealthy people. I think that access is going to be no trouble at all, because it will be economically in the interest of the country to stop people from getting sick. But that's much harder to argue when we look at the developing world. And so, again, it's a question that we really need to think about and try to develop better answers and better proposals for. And finally, regulatory restrictions. People say to me, hang on, it takes 20 years just to get a drug, or 10 years anyway, or more, just to get a drug through the FDA, just get one drug through. How on earth are you going to implement this sort of stuff? And of course, they're absolutely right. If I thought that we were going to have to develop these drugs in the context of the existing regulatory regime, then I would probably double my estimates of the time that we will take to reach longevity escape velocity. So I am optimistic about this. I think that the regulatory environment will be redesigned and recreated from the ground up as fast as necessary as a result of public pressure. But we'd better make that public pressure actually happen. And if we can make that happen in advance of the development of the first generation of rejuvenation therapies, then so much the better. That will bring these things to the fore that much faster. So I've run out of time, so I'll stop there, but I hope I've given you some food for thought. Thanks.